So hello, you are all very welcome today to the first webinar of 2024 with Final Year Matters Moving On. My name is Louisa Keogh and I'm the Programme Coordinator of the Final Year Matters Moving On programme, and I'm so delighted to be collaborating today with Alex Burke from Niteline. Niteline is a volunteer organisation that's free to use for IADT students, and it was founded in 1993. It was between Trinity College Dublin and University College Dublin, and they are so busy. Their volunteers are overflowing, which is amazing, and they have fully trained volunteers, and they're waiting to take your call or your text, or if you'd like to put one of your friends on to get in touch with them. Mental health is so important, especially during these kind of dark and windy days that we've been so blessed with living in Ireland this week. But yeah, so last semester they covered 995 conversations. They're equally popular in text and phone calls, which is a brilliant resource to have. And yeah, I might turn over to Alex now, who has been a volunteer since 2019 and is now the coordinator for the project since 2022. So yeah, Alex, take it away.
So hi everyone, my name is Alex, and like Louisa said, I'm the coordinator of Niteline. So basically what I wanted to do today is just give some tips and tricks on mental health and well-being during wintertime, especially for those final years, because it's obviously a stressful time of year with assignments and figuring out next steps. And at the same time, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Niteline itself and what Niteline can do for you as a final year student, or just as an IDT student in general. So the plan for today is just to go over what Niteline is in a bit more detail, tell you a little bit about how I got involved with Niteline as well. And then from Niteline's experience, I'll be able to give you some tips on looking after yourself and looking out for your friends as well, because that's obviously just as important during the stressful final year. And as well, if you want to get involved with Niteline, all those details will be at the end as well. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail.
Sorry, Alex, I think I'm not sure. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not sure if it's my screen or yours, but it's actually just after freezing on me. That's perfect. Sorry, I've caught up now. Sorry, it might be my computer, but just to flag it. Sorry, thank you so much. Please continue.
No problem at all. The screen sharing is always going to be a little bit of a hassle. So yeah, as I was saying, Niteline, we are a registered charity and a student-run listening and information service. So we provide a free, anonymous, confidential, non-judgmental and non-directive helpline to students across universities in Dublin, Louth, Kildare and Limerick. So students can contact us every night of term, 7 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. And we have both a phone and an instant messaging option, so depending on what you prefer. All of our volunteers are heavily trained. They do 24 hours of training on a wide range of call topics, and they're also an information service. So if you call and you have a particular issue that you'd like to talk about, we can also direct you towards other services and supports that might be more relevant to what you're experiencing. In addition to that, we also run lots of different events around campuses. So you might have seen us in the church in IDT before doing information stands, and we do workshops and so on to talk about mental health and reduce the stigma around mental health on university campuses, which is just as important. So we're currently in 11 different universities all across Ireland, including IDT, and that means we cover about 150,000 students. So as an organisation, we've grown hugely over the last few years. Like Louisa said, we just started off in UCD and Trinity, and since then we've grown massively.
Sorry, Alex, that's still frozen for me. I'm so sorry to keep interrupting.
No problem.
Would it be worth just staying on that page there and just clicking through? Would that be easier? I'm so sorry to keep interrupting you, but just so you're getting your images across. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Is that a bit better now? Yeah, are we staying up to date now?
That looks good to me. That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know. So at Niteline, our biggest philosophy is that no problem is too big or too small. So like I said, our volunteers are trained to deal with a huge range of different call topics, and we get calls on about everything you can think of, from college stress and loneliness to other topics like sexual assault and suicide. But the main thing is that every call is given the same time, attention and priority. So whatever is on your mind, a Niteline volunteer is more than happy to take your call and talk about what you're experiencing and try to help you see things from a different perspective and hope to help in any way that we possibly can. just interesting to point out some of our call trends. So like Louisa said, we're a very busy service, and it's interesting to see how those call trends kind of change throughout the year and definitely reflect the student experience throughout the year as well. So we get a lot of calls relating to loneliness in September, especially, which is obviously when a lot of first years have moved up to college for the first time. They might be moving to Dublin for the first time and not really know anyone. We get a lot of calls relating to exam stress then towards the end of the semester, so in December and May. And then we get a lot of calls relating to relationships and financial stress around January, so just after Christmas, when people might have spent a bit more money around Christmas or are spending a lot of time at home around their family and friends. And as enjoyable of a time it is, it can also get quite stressful when you're spending time with people as well. And we also see an increase around certain days like Blue Monday. It might sound like it's just a marketing buzzword, but we do actually see an increase in our calls on Blue Monday every year. We also see an increase in calls on Valentine's Day for all of those lonely souls like myself who might not have anyone to spend Valentine's Day with, and even on nights of big student events. For example, Trinity Ball is a big event in Trinity every summer, and we see an increase of calls on those days as well, when maybe students are feeling a bit isolated when they see everyone else out socializing and maybe they're not in the right headspace for that. But like I said, Niteline is open 7 nights a week, so we're always there for students who want to talk to us, regardless of the time of year or what their reason for calling might be. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how I got involved with Niteline in the first place. So I studied chemistry in UCD. Might not be the type of degree that you'd most associate with a mental health helpline, but I joined Niteline when I was in the second year in university in 2019. I first became aware of Niteline when I saw a poster around one of our buildings in UCD, and for some reason it just really stuck out to me as a really nice service, a really nice idea. But it was actually when a friend of mine told me that he had contacted Niteline that was really what made me want to get involved, because it really gave me pause for thought. And I was thinking about how my friend was in a very difficult situation and didn't really feel like they had anyone to talk to, but they were able to pick up the phone and talk to a Niteline volunteer. And I really wanted to be that person for someone else. And I haven't looked back since. It's been the best thing that I've ever done in university. I met some amazing people in volunteering and was able to get involved in the organization in many different ways. So in 2020, I was our head of publicity, which was a great chance to spread the word about Niteline across all of our different universities, online and in person, running different workshops and so on, which is really enjoyable. In 2021, I was one of our training officers, training in our new volunteers, which was a really great experience. I think training is one of the best parts about becoming a Niteline volunteer, getting to know those new people, learning all those new skills. So that was really enjoyable. And then since 2022, I've been coordinator, which has been, again, an honor of a lifetime, honestly, a great chance to help our volunteers and expand the service, and meeting so many interesting people from all over the country talking about why Niteline is important to them or why they're interested in getting involved with Niteline. It's been a really fantastic experience. And since 2019, I've spent over 350 hours on call taking shifts, which is a long time, but I really can't emphasize enough how amazing of an experience it's been. And there's something really, it's an honor, honestly, to pick up a phone and be able to talk to someone when they're in a moment of distress. And the fact that they trust us as Niteline volunteers to offload their problems and to talk about things is really, really special. So if it's something that you're interested in doing, I really can't recommend it enough. But for now, I want to hopefully impart some knowledge and give some tips and tricks and so on how to look after your own mental health and the mental health of your friends during final year, especially during these tough few winter months as we come up to the time when there's a lot of final assessments and theses and so on, and you're thinking about next steps. It's a very stressful time of year. We're not getting much sunlight. The weather is pretty shocking. So all of those things together can make it quite a stressful time of year. But looking after our volunteers is something that we're very big on, and hopefully we can take our experience of 30 years of volunteering and give you something useful that might be able to help you in this more difficult time of year. So there's a couple of things that we always teach our volunteers about first to understand and to look out for in themselves. The first is something called compassion fatigue, which sounds like a very out there psychological term, but I think when you hear it explained, it's something that we all experience. And it is really the cost of looking after and looking out for others. It's how we can start feeling tired and drained and exhausted ourselves because we're spending so much time looking out for others, caring about other people's problems. We're becoming fatigued from being compassionate, basically. And when that happens, we lose our ability to be empathetic with others. We lose our ability to show compassion, and we also lose our ability to deal with our own stress. And that can make our own problems and our own stresses feel all the more severe. So this is something that's really important for us to be aware of and to try to avoid and try to work on if we realize that we are becoming or we are getting compassion fatigue. Another thing that we're all familiar with is burnout, which is obviously the emotional exhaustion that we all experience from cumulative stress, too much work. And this is definitely something that happens to a lot of final years, especially. It can be very hard to pace yourself, and it can be very hard to be aware of burnout. It's a cumulative process. It happens over weeks and months of nonstop stress and more and more work. So it can be quite a gradual thing. It can be hard to be aware of. But the biggest cure, I suppose, for both of these things is self-care. And self-care is something that really we try to teach all of our volunteers the importance of. We really emphasize it, that you can't pour from an empty cup, as they say. If you're not looking after yourself, you're not going to be able to look after anyone else. So self-care is anything that feeds your soul, anything that makes you feel better, helps you decompress, helps you relax, helps you lower your stress or lower your burden. But what exactly that is obviously unique to everyone. So the first thing that is really important with looking after yourself is having a way to check in with yourself and actually recognize when you're feeling burnt out or when you're experiencing compassion fatigue. And this really involves just taking a step back from what you're doing, a step back from the day-to-day stress, and quite literally asking yourself a few questions like these here, like asking yourself, how are you feeling right now? Taking a moment to actually, scan through your body. Do you feel any stress in your stomach? Do you feel tension in your muscles? Is there anything that's running through your head in particular? And actually taking that time to force yourself to, check in with yourself and see how you're actually doing. To ask yourself if doing something is going to make you feel worse. Is it going to make you feel better? Or is it going to make you feel worse? Reviewing your behavior recently. Are you doing anything that's different than you usually are? And is that a sign that maybe something's going on that you're not fully aware of? If you've been having a lot of arguments with your friends, or maybe you're feeling a bit agitated, or you're being quite short and argumentative with your parents, is that something that you're not usually like? And is that a sign that something else is happening? Ask yourself, who can you talk to? Like I said, you can always talk to Niteline, but maybe you can talk to your siblings, your friends. And is there something that you just really need to get off your chest and talk about with someone? And then ask yourself as well, is there anything that you really need right now, or that you really want right now? Have you not been sleeping well, and do you just really need a good night's sleep? Don't underestimate how something simple like that can really improve how you're feeling. Or do you just really need to talk to someone and get something off your chest, like I said? So simply just checking in with yourself is a great first step to recognizing burnout, recognizing compassion fatigue, and figuring out what you might need to improve how you're feeling. Then self-care, like I said, is going to be our main cure for burnout and compassion fatigue. And self-care can really be anything. I think there's a lot of TikToks and so on about self-care, and a lot of the time it revolves around, buying yourself something new, or going to get some ice cream or something like that. And that absolutely is self-care. But there's a lot of other ways that we can do self-care that maybe doesn't cost as much money, or that is more sustainable than that as well. So just put some ideas here of the self-care that we really preach to our volunteers and that we really emphasize as being important for our volunteers. So like I said, treating yourself absolutely is a form of self-care. You've been working so hard in final year, you've been putting up with a lot of stress and deadlines and so on. You really do deserve to treat yourself every so often, whether that is just buying some ice cream or doing your skincare routine before going to bed or something like that, to reward yourself for all the hard work that you're doing. Making sure that you're resting and relaxing is also very important. If you need to get a good night's sleep, prioritize that above anything else. And if you find that you've been spending all day working on a particular project, give yourself a cutoff time, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever the case may be, and let yourself decompress after that. Watch a movie, do some meditation, to kind of have a balance between all of the work that you're doing and also looking after yourself. This might sound like what your mom or dad might be preaching to you all the time, but make sure that you're eating yourself, or you're eating healthy, and that you're giving yourself lots of protein and healthy fats and complex carbohydrates, and that you're not getting dehydrated, because those are also very simple things that can cause you to feel agitated if you're not drinking enough, or if you're not eating enough. But it's a very simple thing to fix, and you won't realize how much better you'll feel until you do it. Getting outside, going for a walk, going to the gym to reduce some frustration is also great. And I think this last point is probably the biggest thing that I try to impart on our volunteers, because it might not be as obvious all the time, but self-talk is also a huge part of self-care, and being kind to yourself, and the types of things that we tell ourselves every day. Because it has been shown in studies that positive self-talk has a huge impact on our mood and how we see ourselves. So things like positive affirmations, not being so hard on yourself. You're doing great, you're on the right track, you're doing the best that you can in everything that you're doing. Telling yourself that, making sure you believe yourself when you tell yourself that, can have a huge impact on your mood. And just generally, don't be so hard on yourself, especially during these, more stressful times, more stressful months around final year, and the dark winter months as well. So this is how we look after our volunteers, and how we look after self-care when we're on phone shifts and after phone shifts. And these are also things that can easily be applied to our everyday lives as well. So when Niteline volunteers are on a shift, they're never alone. So they always have someone to debrief with, especially after taking a stressful call. And if someone has taken a stressful call, they can easily take a break for an hour or two while on that shift, and not take any more calls. And there's plenty of snacks and treats and blankets and so on in our office where we take calls from as well. And that can be applied to our daily lives as well. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to struggle on your own. You can debrief with your friends and talk to someone about what you're experiencing, and recognize when you need a break and give yourself that break when you need it. And then after a shift, our Niteline volunteers always get support from their fellow volunteers, from our dedicated support officer, and from the coordinator. And they attend fortnightly support meetings with a counsellor from one of our colleges, which is a great chance to talk about the stressful calls that they might have taken, or just what they're experiencing in their daily lives, and what might be affecting them as a volunteer as well. But the biggest thing is that we always recommend that our volunteers do some self-care the day after the shift, because they've stayed up late that night, they've put in a lot of hard work, taken some stressful calls. So we always encourage them to do something nice for themselves that day. Go get some ice cream, do some meditation, sleep in, because that's so important. And that is something as well that you can apply to your everyday life. If you have a particular busy week, make sure you prioritize yourself that weekend, for example, to try to avoid that burnout that we were talking about already. So that's some ideas on how to look after yourself when you're in final year, and also want to just give some tips on how to look after your friends and look out for your friends during final year as well. And a lot of this advice comes straight from the training that we give our volunteers before they start taking calls. And it's really useful advice that I think we can all apply to our friendships and relationships in our everyday lives as well. So a few things that we need to look out for with our friends, especially in final year. And so, like we said, we already have our ways of looking at or checking in with ourselves. So there's a few ways that we can check in on others and look out for others. So some signs that our friend might not be doing so well, or might have something going on that we're not aware of, would be a change in their behavior. If they're no longer answering your calls or messages when before they would reply within 5 minutes. If they're not showing up to lectures anymore when before they would never miss a lecture. If they've started cancelling on plans when before they might be the person that was always making plans. Or if they seem quiet or more agitated than usual, if you're getting into arguments with them, that could be a sign that there's something going on there that you might want to talk to them about. It can be really hard to know what the right thing to say is when you're talking to a friend, because you don't necessarily want to put them on the spot or force them to talk about something that they're not ready to talk about. So here are just a few ideas of like nice, gentle ways to reach out to someone. Saying something like, I really missed you at college today, is everything okay? Is a really nice way to reach out to someone, letting them know that their presence is valued and that you miss them when they're not there. And it's giving them the opportunity and the space to talk if they want to. But if they don't feel like talking to you as well at that particular moment, we always respect that as well. And you can always say something as well like, I know you have a lot on your plate right now, but you can always talk to me. Again, you're not forcing them to talk about anything, but you're giving them the space to talk if they want. And you're letting them know that that space is always there, whether they use it right now or not. Some other ideas of what you can do to kind of create that space and let your friend know that you're there for them if they need you would be to reach out to them individually, because I think nowadays a lot of us talk to our college friends, especially in group chats and so on, and it can be a little bit chaotic when there's 5 or 6 people in a group chat and it's hard to know what's going on with an individual. But if you reach out to someone individually and let them know that you're there for them, that can mean a lot more than you might expect. Another idea is to confide in them. That might seem counterintuitive, but if you ring up a friend or ask to meet up and you let them know what's going on in your life, it shows that you trust them, and in return, they're probably more likely to trust you with what's going on in their life. And it lets your friend know as well that they're not alone, that they're not the only person that is experiencing college stress, for example, or that is going through a difficult time right now. So by confiding in them, you're showing them that they're not alone. You can also very casually mention, Niteline or another support that might be available to them. Just in passing, in conversation, you could say that you saw a webinar about Niteline and it sounds like a great service, and that registers in the back of their mind that maybe it's a service that they will think about looking into. Or, for example, if you go to counselling yourself, you might mention in passing that you had a counselling session the other day and you found it really helpful. And again, that might register in the back of their mind that counselling is something that they could look into or might be something that they would like to avail of as well. And then lastly, just give them the space that they need. You can't force someone to talk to us or to confide in us if they're going through something, but if you make it clear to them that there is that space and that you are there for them when they need you, that is so important. And we always say that in Niteline as well. We are usually a very busy service, but sometimes we have nights where no one calls us. And for the volunteers on the shift that night, it can feel a little bit frustrating that they stayed up until 2:30 in the morning and didn't even get a single call. But we always remind them that the fact that we were open at all can be a huge comfort to people. The fact that someone might have looked at our website, seen that we were open, that might have been comforting to them. Even if they didn't decide to start a call, they knew that someone was there for them, and that meant a lot. And the same goes for your friends. Even if your friend doesn't feel like talking about what they're going through, the fact that they know that they can go to you if they need you can mean a lot. When talking to your friend, it's really important to use what we call active listening. This is something that we train all of our volunteers on, because it really is the key to what we do. So active listening is all about taking an active part in the conversation, showing the person that you're talking to that you are listening and that you're trying to understand what they're talking about, versus passive listening, where you're not really showing any interest or engaging with what the person is talking about. So this is something that like I said, we train all of our volunteers in, and it takes a long time to really get used to it because it is a bit counterintuitive to how we actually talk to people on a normal day-to-day basis. But there are a couple of skills that we can very quickly implement into our listening and into our conversations to improve our active listening. The first thing to do is always show that you are listening. So when you're talking to someone face to face, body language and eye contact are so important to show that you're listening. But if you're talking on the phone or texting someone, we always use what we call contact statements. These are just short phrases that show the person that you're listening that you're trying to understand what they're going through. So things like, I hear you, that sounds really tough, I'm so sorry to hear that. When something like that is said and is meant genuinely, it shows to the person that you care and that you are listening to them and that you want to hear what they have to say. And it's a very short, simple phrase, but it can make a huge difference to the person that you're talking to. Another huge aspect of active listening is using open questions versus closed questions. So open questions are questions that we use words like what, why, when, where, how. They're questions that continue the conversation, that look for more information, versus a closed question, which is a yes/no question. So yes and no questions are the worst when you're trying to talk to someone because they lead to a conversation to be a dead end. If you ask someone, for example, are you stressed right now? And they say no, well, that's the end of that. They have no room to delve into that in more detail because you asked a closed question. Whereas if you ask something like, how are you feeling right now? Well, that requires them to express themselves a bit more, think about their feelings a bit more, and go into a bit more detail, which helps them to, really see things from a different perspective and kind of think about their emotions a little bit more. So that's why we always encourage the use of open questions in active listening. Another skill which we always use in Niteline, and it definitely takes a bit of getting used to, is silence. So embracing the silence in a conversation. When we're talking to our friends normally, we might feel that silence can be a little bit awkward, but it doesn't have to be, because silence can also, give someone space to think, can give someone space to reflect on what has already been said, for example. And you can really embrace that in a conversation with someone. If someone has just told you something, you don't have to feel like you need to jump right in with a reply. You can give them a couple of seconds of silence to kind of think about what they've just said and for you to think about your reply. And in that situation, silence can actually be quite powerful. Another great skill is to reflect someone's language back at them. So if someone is saying that they're stressed, they're overworked, they're burnt out, if you reply back using those exact same words, it again shows that person that you're listening and that you're understanding what they're going through. Reflection is a really, really useful tool in showing that you are actively listening. It's also important to be open-minded and to watch how you react and make sure you're reacting in a non-judgmental way. Everyone's experiences are going to be different, and what one person finds stressful is going to be different to what another person finds stressful. But if we talk to each other with an open mind and are non-judgmental to one another, that will show to your friend that you really care and you care about how they're feeling. If someone is finding college much more stressful than you are, you can be open-minded and you can respect that and care about how they're feeling, and you don't have to pass judgment on the fact that they're struggling with college more than you are. You might not find college that hard at all, for example. So being open-minded with someone is really important. And at the end of the day, we really just have to be there to listen to one another. You don't have to feel like you need to find a solution for someone. That's not your job. That's not your responsibility. If you give someone space to talk about what they're experiencing, that is already helping someone hugely. You don't have to have all the right answers, and you don't have to tell someone what to do. So here are a couple of other ways that Niteline volunteers do active listening and help show our callers that we care about what they're talking about and that we're listening to what they're saying. So like I said, we always use reflection. We also use paraphrasing as well. So this shows to the caller that we're listening and we're trying to understand, because sometimes callers talk to us about issues that maybe we've got no experience with ourselves, but we still care about what they're going through. We still want to understand what they're going through. So we try to show them through our language that we're trying to understand. And as well, it can be really useful for someone to hear something said back to them. It's one thing to say something, it's a different thing to hear it. So if you reflect back what someone just said to you, they get to hear it for themselves, and it might change their perspective on how they see a situation or how they feel about a certain situation. And then we are also very big on being non-directive and non-judgmental. So these are two of Niteline's core principles, along with being anonymous and confidential. So we're non-judgmental because we are also students. We're not in a position to judge someone for who they are or what they've done. And we're also non-directive because, like I said, we're just students. So we're not qualified to give you a solution for an issue that you're facing. And I think in too many situations, students are just told what they should do. So I think it's nice that as Niteline volunteers are able to create a space where someone can just come and vent and feel listened to, and they know that they're not going to be told that what they're doing is right or wrong, or being told exactly what they should do. And that is exactly something that we can transfer to how we talk to our friends as well. You know, we don't have to feel like we're telling them what to do, and we don't have to pass judgment on what they're experiencing or what they're saying. We can just be there to listen, and that in and of itself can be really, really helpful. So I hope that those were some useful tips on how to look after yourself and how to look after your friends during these stressful final year months. And I hope that it also piqued your interest in what Niteline is and what we do. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail about how you could get involved with Niteline if that's something that you're interested in doing as well. So first of all, you can definitely become a Niteline volunteer. We are always looking for new volunteers. We welcome applications from students across all of our affiliated colleges, including IADT, of course. Our training usually takes place during the summer or during the first semester of every academic term. Or new volunteers undergo at least 24 hours of training on a range of different call topics and skills. So it's a really useful opportunity, and it's something that will really stand to you both in volunteering and once you leave college as well. They're skills that will be useful for the rest of your life, really. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can apply on our website, niteline.ie/volunteer. You just put in some details on what college you're in, what course you're studying, and why you're interested in volunteering. And then when our next training groups start opening up, our training team will be in touch with a few more details. And like I mentioned at the start, I studied chemistry, so we're really open to, you know, a range of different backgrounds, a range of different college courses. Sometimes I get asked if it's something only for psychology students, and it absolutely is not. It's something that can be useful and beneficial for all types of students. And another way to get involved with Niteline is through fundraising and publicity. So we're a charity, we rely solely on the generous funding we get from colleges and through donations. So if you would like to somehow fundraise for us, you know, organizing a coffee morning or a bake sale or anything of that sort, we would be absolutely delighted with that. You can get in touch with us at info@niteline.org for more information on how to go about doing that. We also run a big fundraising event in the month of February for Niteline Awareness Month. This year it's going to be a masquerade ball for students on the 22nd of February. So if that's something that you'd be interested in attending, we would absolutely love to see you there. And all of the information is on our Instagram account, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Or if you'd like to help us with publicity as well, you know, maybe you feel like volunteering as a call taker isn't something for you, but you'd still think it's an important service to spread the word about, then we would absolutely love to hear from you as well in ways that you could help with us. You know, whether it's just hanging up posters around your college campus or maybe setting up an information stand for students to come and find out more about the service. That is also really important because, like I said, we're funded by the colleges and by donations, but we still need to make sure that all of the students in those colleges know that we're there for them and know what we do. So that would also be great. So lastly, just a final recap on who Niteline is. We're a student-run listening information service for college students across 11 different colleges, including IADT. We offer anonymous, confidential, non-directive and non-judgmental listening from 9 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. 7 nights a week. If you want to call us to talk to a volunteer, you can ring 1-800-793-793. It's completely free. If you want to instant message with a volunteer, you can go to our website, niteline.ie, and when our phone lines are open, there's a little button there to start a conversation. If you have any questions at all about Niteline, you can reach out to info@niteline.org and we'll get back to you instantly with the information that you're looking for. On our website as well, we have a huge list of other resources that are available to you for free as a student. So if there's other resources that you might be looking for, you might be able to find it there. And then on Instagram and all of our social networks, we are at niteline.ie. So please do give us a follow and keep up to date with the different things that we're doing and the events that we might be running around IADT as well. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone coming today and watching this webinar. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much as well to Louisa from Final Year Matters Moving On for organising this. I really hope it was useful and hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you so much, Alex. That was brilliant. And we have a couple of questions here, if you don't mind. And so we might power through them a little bit just before we wrap up for today. But that was an excellent presentation and really, really informative. I think the idea of being there for your fellow students, I think like I once was a student myself in IGT, and the idea of being there for other students is just exceptional. I think it's a great pull for potential volunteers. So if you are interested in volunteering, do reach out to Niteline and fill out the application form. But yeah, the first question we have here is, it's kind of a twofold question. Firstly, how long can a phone or text conversation last? Kind of what's the maximum time that a conversation can last? And what does that conversation usually look like? Like who drives the conversation usually?
Yeah, so a text conversation can last up to 2 hours, 120 minutes, and a phone call can last up to 60 minutes, so 1 hour. So if a call ends at the call limit, the caller is more than welcome to call back again if they still want to talk more. There's no guarantee that call will be answered by another volunteer or by the same volunteer. But we have that call limit there for the well-being of our volunteers. And generally we find as well at that stage, a caller has kind of gotten everything off their chest and it's late at night, so they probably want to get some sleep as well. And our calls usually start with the volunteer saying something along the lines of, "Hi, this is Niteline. How are you feeling tonight?" And from there, the caller knows that they're in the driving seat and they can really decide where to take the conversation from there. The volunteer will give them the space to talk about whatever it is they want, and they will obviously ask questions to, help the caller explore their feelings. But it really is up to the caller what they want to do with that space and what they want to do with that call. If there's anything specific they want to talk about, they're more than welcome to, or if they just want a general chat, that is also an option as well.
Great, thank you so much. So can students who aren't in college at the moment, so say graduates or recent graduates or even further along, can people who aren't students in the partner HCIs call Niteline?
So we're only there for current students, and that's because we are funded mostly by the colleges themselves. But like I said, on our website, we do have a huge list of resources there that are open to everyone. So if someone is a recent graduate or not yet in college, there's a lot of resources there that they might be able to avail of. But if someone's a recent graduate and they still want to get involved with Niteline in some way, we would absolutely love to hear from them in terms of publicity and fundraising and so on. There are still ways for people to get involved.
Great, and that's good to know. Thank you so much. And I just have a question here about the times of the calls. So would you have a kind of peak time where you get your most calls, or say for instance between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.? What are the kind of the statistics on your most popular times for calls?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely notice busier times. So, like I said, our phone lines open at 9 p.m. We're usually relatively quiet for the first hour or so, and our phone lines close at around 2:30, and it usually is very quiet for the last half hour or so. So I think the peak time is generally from around 10:30 to 1:30, is when we would get most of our calls. But even at our busiest times, we always have enough volunteers on, so never be afraid to call. Your call will be answered for sure.
Excellent, thank you so much. And just kind of speaking of that timeline, is it okay if someone say is on a night out or they've had a bit to drink? Is it okay to call Niteline under the influence?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Like we're completely aware that sometimes it is when someone has had a little bit too much to drink, or even just had one or two drinks. That might be a time when they start to feel a bit more anxious, or they might be in a situation that they're not comfortable with, and that might exactly be the time when they need to talk to someone the most. And our volunteers are trained to talk to people who are under the influence, so that's not a problem at all. And if in that situation someone needs additional support, or volunteers are trained to provide that support as well, specific to that situation.
Excellent. Thank you so much. My apologies if you can hear my dogs in the background, and I'm working from home today. These are the perks of the job. But that's great. Thank you so much. I just have a question around self-care. So this person tends to indulge in kind of harmful habits around self-care, be overspending or addictive practices. What new habits would you recommend to replace these kind of more negative habits with?
Yeah, so I suppose it would be important to look at the root of what those expensive habits, or not expensive necessarily, but what those damaging habits are. What is it that you're getting out of that? And what is it that you could replace that with, for example? So do you like to spend money because you get a rush out of it? Is there something that you can replicate that rush with that isn't going to damage your bank account as much? I think the biggest thing would be to First of all, acknowledge when those habits are, doing more harm than good, because being aware of that is obviously a huge first step to solving it. And I think another thing would be to be very open-minded about trying different things to see what might help you in self-care that you might not have thought about before. When we are talking about self-care with our volunteers, a lot of the time people end up picking up on something that they never expected before. I've seen 6'3" rugby player volunteers end up getting into crochet as an aspect of self-care, and that's probably something they never expected. So if you are finding that you're falling into some negative habits, there might be something out there that can distract you and can move you away from those negative habits that you never thought of before. So having an open mind would definitely be helpful there, I would say.
Absolutely, that's great. And I think in terms of college and being on campus, I think clubs and socks are a great way to even just meet new people, as you said, about the most unlikely folks finding volunteering, or maybe it's sea swimming or anything like that. I think the first step, and we're really lucky with IDT kind of geographically that we're a really small campus, so you'll definitely run into the same person 2 or 3 times a day. So stuff like clubs and socks, getting involved with societies is a great way to meet new people. And somebody might say, "Oh yeah, I go for a run on a Saturday morning." You go, "Oh, I've always wanted to try running." So it's these conversations, and it's that kind of like peer to peer is a phrase I'd use when I have my teaching and learning hat on. But it's a great way to just find new friends and learn new things about yourself, because the more we talk to each other, the more we really learn about ourselves. I think. But yeah, that's all for our questions. But I just want to remind for the IEDT folks listening that our student counselling service is in the Carrigley building. If you visit the webpage for student counselling, you can find all details on how to make appointments. But I think Niteline is an exceptional way to extend the branch of self-care, really, by looking for help and looking for it in a way that's not too intimidating. These are students on the other end of the phone, and it's a completely confidential service. And yeah, thank you so much, Alex. That's great. Keep an eye, for the folks at home watching, keep an eye to the Niteline website and their Instagram, and just spread the word with your friends in college, because it's a really exceptional service. And as for FYMMO, keep an eye out on our social media as well. We've got a few really cool events coming up this semester. We've got the Careers Fair in April, and we've got a couple of things bubbling under the bonnet. So keep an eye to that, and we'll be sure to be back to you. So yeah, thank you so much, Alex. Thank you.